This is your host, Dyutama, but you can call me DJ. And I love to inspire food photographers to dream. I spent 15 years as an architect studying buildings and constructing hospitals before taking the biggest leap of faith of my life, which was setting up a food styling and food photography business right from scratch. If you're a dreamer like me, wanting to start a new photography business or grow your existing food photography business, jump right into a world where I share practical, actionable strategies to improve your photography skills, to work with clients, make more money, all with a fearless mindset. This is the My Food Lens podcast, and we take you one step closer to your dreams. So let's go. I feel like people don't give success enough time to reach them. You're not allowing success to take its path, its journey. Success has its journey as well. So if you're not allowing that to happen, it's not going to be able to reach you. You take a shortcut and you get out, you've lost it somewhere along the way. So I think this was such a great example. And I think for creators, your example was so perfect because a lot of our success or validation or acknowledgement comes through our analytics, our numbers. What's the traffic we're getting? How many leads are we getting through our, digital content? So this was such a great example. Tell me, Megan, can you share with us maybe 2 or 3 ways in which we can reframe our thoughts to actually attract success? Maybe 2 or 3 ways that come to your mind.
Yeah, stopping negative thinking is so hard because I think we're all in the groove of just doing it without even thinking about it, honestly. So number 1 is just awareness. I would say as you go through your day, do this for at least a week. Just start being aware of what you're thinking. And that can be about your business. It can be about the people in your life, the driver who cut you off. Oh my gosh, the school pickup line. I don't know if anyone else freaks out about that and thinks terrible things. I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, just start noticing what you're thinking throughout the day. And if you need to write it down, that's great. So that is step 1. You don't have to do anything about it. Just be aware if you're doing a lot of negative thinking. And it's okay if you are, because we all are usually. And then I would say number 2 is once you're aware of kind of where your negative thinking is going, just start changing those thoughts. So maybe if it's the school pickup line and you just had a terrible thought about the person who cut you off again and honked at you. This happened to me 2 days ago. Yeah, I was like, seriously, I'm picking up my kid from school and you're honking at me. So yeah, this is a trigger for me. So figure out your triggers and just start replacing them. So instead of thinking that, maybe it's, oh, I bet she's in a hurry. I'm sending love to her. I really hope she's okay. And it might seem really forced and unnatural, but that really does help because then next time it happens, you're more likely to maybe I should really be concerned. Is she okay? And you start training yourself to just replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. That might seem like it's not going to have any effect in your life, but if you can do this over time consistently, I promise you're going to start seeing good things come into your life. That whole quote from Tony Robbins, where your energy goes. If you're thinking terrible things about people or yourself, that's what's going to come back to you. So awareness and just starting to slowly chip away at replacing those negative thoughts. I think that is a really solid place to start.
And they sound easy, but they're so tough.
I know.
It's like I can hear people just saying this in their minds right now as they're listening. We always think that, it's okay, I'm just going to switch. I'm just going to, focus on what's the positive. It is one of the toughest things to do, especially like you said, being a busy mom, dropping your kids off, and then knowing that you have a whole day of work ahead of you. You're a solopreneur. You're sitting by yourself. It's not like you can rant to someone else and let off that steam. So writing is such a great medium that you suggested. I think that's such a good way of just putting it out there, getting it out of your system, and then focusing back. But on that note, Megan, I feel like a lot of folks feel that, especially creators, feel like I'm working so hard. I'm doing everything it takes, why do I need to stay positive? I'm so talented. I'm going to be able to crush it. I have so many clients and I'm putting in the hours that's needed. So, even if I have negative thoughts, so what? So what? I'm still doing well. So, how important is that, no matter how successful we are, where we want to be, where does that positivity piece fall into the overall success or the health and wellness of our business?
It's so important. So to that situation, I would say if you feel like you are working so hard and you are so talented and that is enough, if you can add some positivity and mindset and self-care to your life, you are not going to need to work so hard. You can work a
Love
lot
it.
less and lighten your workload, lighten your stress and anxiety by a ton and actually enjoy life and still find that success and even more because you're going to make room for even better things to come in. So working hard is definitely not enough to be successful. You can find success with working hard, yes, but you can find so much more success with working less and staying on top of your mindset and taking care of yourself.
I love that answer. I just absolutely love it because, the definition of success is so different for everybody. And
Yeah.
definitely money is part of success, but success is so much about joy, satisfaction, living a full life, and, being comfortable in your own skin, finding that inner peace. So, all of those things together account for, success and also mental health. So,
Yeah.
overworking and just pushing too hard and being in the grind 24/7, all those things can really take a toll. I absolutely love your answer that working hard is one thing, but making time for yourself just by getting that positive piece in place. Is there
Yeah.
anything that
And
you can share? Yes, please go
yeah.
ahead. Meg.
Oh, I was going to say, if you're listening to us talking and you're like, I don't know, it's been really working well for me, working hard all the time. I would say just try it. Like find something that you can tweak in your mindset or just taking care of yourself or changing your thinking for a period of time and see what happens. And I promise you, you will see a change for the better.
Megan,
A
is there
little
any way
challenge to
that,
put out there.
yeah, can you give like listeners just maybe a tip or a simple way that they can change their thinking? What is it that they need to do? What is one practice or two practices that can help them switch from negative to positive mode?
Oh, this is so hard. Again, like being aware, I think journaling too, and just being really self reflective. So if there's something in your life that you find yourself being negative about a lot, write it out. Pretend that you are your own therapist. Just start writing, like, I have a problem with the lady in the pickup line. Why is this? And then just get to the bottom of it. I think there's so much power in journaling, and that's why talk therapy is so powerful for a lot of people, is because it's just like you digging into why you're doing the things you're doing and changing those things, like recognizing and changing. So, whatever you need to do to recognize and just change one or two things, I think will be really powerful for anyone listening.
Hmm. Maybe getting hold of some books, some podcasts,
Yes, that
things
too.
like that
Yep.
can provide some more tools to be able to bring that sense of awareness. Being aware is number one, and then taking action is the second.
Yeah.
So bringing that awareness would be number one. Yes, I agree. The other thing I feel, Megan, is that, we're talking about working very, very hard. And I feel like most creators who have a business work very hard. I feel like bloggers work so hard.
They
Photographers work
do.
so hard. And it's so much work. And many times there is this sense of, no matter how hard I work, I never get what she has. Why
Yeah.
does she have more? I'm doing the same thing. I think I take better pictures than her, but I don't have enough clients, or as many clients as her. Why does she have so many followers and I don't? Or it could go the other way that I work so hard, but I don't think I'm good enough. I think I don't have as much talent as them. So there could be
Mhm.
both these voices, these kind of voices that are constantly running in our heads. And in spite of it, we are working hard. But the point is that we oftentimes don't get the results we want in spite of putting in the effort that we are. So, do you think it's possible that you can work very hard and you can still not achieve proportionate results. What do you think could be a cause and a solution for that?
Yeah, I think what you said is a big one. So competition, comparing yourself too much to others. I think there's good competition, but I think it can really get in your head if you let it. That is probably one of the biggest resistances, I think, for food bloggers and any entrepreneur in general. That can really mess with our mindset. Like, oh,
Mm.
they're doing this and I'm not doing that. And then that's your focus, right? You're focusing there, what you're not doing well. And if that's where your energy is going to go, well, you're not good at that. So, a solution for that is, I know this is hard, but just keep your eyes off of people. If this is something that you struggle with, comparing yourself and looking at other people's journeys and feeling not enough, then for a time, just take your eyes off of what they're doing. Don't look on Instagram anymore. Don't look on Facebook. Don't visit blogs and look to see what they're doing or what their images are looking like. Just focus on your stuff for a time and really show gratitude for everything that you produce and the creativity you have and the skills that you have and the knowledge that you have and the access to all the tools that you have. Just try to overcome that comparison with gratitude and focusing on what you do really well.
Close off the noise and anything that is trigger. It's a trigger, right? Like what we talked about
Yes.
before. This is definitely a trigger. And the power of the mind is that we are in complete control to shut off that noise, that change that voice.
Yeah.
Whatever we're saying to ourselves, just shift it. I'm not
Yeah.
good enough. She's doing it better. Oh, I can try that. Maybe I'll be like that. Again, so I like that. But it's again, I know that we're saying all these things. I know a lot of folks are like, oh, that's really tough. But it comes with small, simple steps that we take over and over again on a daily basis. And it becomes second nature. It becomes a habit. And you begin to like and love being in this place of positivity, in this, happy zone of yours. So I want to go back to your Pinterest story, the example that you shared with us.
Yeah.
And I love it. I just have such a respect for people who are always pushing themselves out of their comfort zones. And I feel like you definitely demonstrated, the setback that you felt at that time to have been able to push through and get yourself, in a place where you didn't feel comfortable. Like attending conferences is a highly uncomfortable thing for people to do, putting your face out there, being physically present, talking to people. Most people hate it. You were there. All right. So
Yes.
I would love for you to share some tips, some of your suggestions on how creators can actually beat that inertia of staying in their comfort zones.
Mm, this is a biggie. Oh, so many of us resist doing scary things because it's really comfortable to be in our comfort zone. And I sometimes think back, like, what gave me the motivation to go to conferences or, do all the scary things that I've done in my journey? And I think there was just a point, not just in my entrepreneurial journey, but in my life when I just decided that I could do scary things. And on the other side of scary things were actually really big, awesome things. So I think that decision that I had made in my life was pivotal. That was key. So I would recommend that if you resist doing scary things, to just decide, just make the decision that you're going to start now to do those things that you know you need to do, but that feel really scary. And you can start by practicing with little scary things. So if something little comes up, like, I don't know, maybe a friend invites you to a party that you just don't feel comfortable going to or something. That's not a really big deal, but it's might seem really scary, little scary. Just do it. And then you can start practicing your scaries. Start with little scary and then move up to big. And you'll see that you're going to be greatly rewarded in your life for doing those scary things. Every single time I do something scary that's not like, threatening my life or anything,
Yeah.
something good that I don't see coming comes my way. It's the coolest thing ever. And once you see the power of that, you kind of want to do more scary things. Now, whenever I'm faced with something scary, I'm like, all right, bring it. I'm excited to see what's on the other side of this. So yeah, it's just a habit. You have to get into the habit of doing it. And if that seems way too daunting, start with the smallest thing that comes your way in the next week.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like when you are successful or you have fun doing the scary things and you come out brave, out of that situation, there's a hit of dopamine. And you just want to, like you said, you want to do it again because you get that hit of
Yeah, it
dopamine.
feels so good. You're like, I did
it. Yeah, exactly. And it gets addictive. And then you are less scared of taking risks. I remember I was at Universal Studios in Orlando. And there was this mummy ride. All right. I don't know who's been on the mummy ride, but it's scary as heck.
Return to the Mummy. I was just on it a few months ago.
Were you? So I
Yes.
am petrified. I'm not a high thrill seeker. I'm not somebody who would voluntarily sit on a roller coaster. And my husband kind of, he said, oh, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm like, I'm just going to close my eyes the whole time and shout and scream. That's all I'm going to do. So it's something that's just not a part of my nature. I sat on that roller coaster and it was insane. I mean, you just did it recently, so you would know. It's a very creative ride. Actually, it's done so creatively. It's not just a roller coaster that's scary. There is thrill, there is mystery, there is a bit of an experience. There's hot, there's cold, there's up and down. There's a bit of an experience in it.
There's literally fire.
There's fire in it. Exactly. So we finished that ride. Of course, half of the time my eyes were closed. And then we finished the ride and I get off and I'm like, I was shaking. I was so scared. I was shaking. And then my husband looks at me. He's like, how was it? I said, let's do it one more time. Just one more time. I just want to go one more time. And I just can't believe it. Like, you put yourself in a situation that you think you will not survive. You survive it. And then the pride that you feel, that hit of dopamine, that sense of I can do this is so big. It's bigger than the fear you feel of not doing something.
There it is, right? That's the key right there. What's scarier, not doing it and not seeing the awesome outcome, or doing the scary thing? So keep that in mind as you are faced with scary stuff.
Absolutely. But also, Megan, I feel like, not everybody is born brave. Not everybody is born with a lot of inner strength. Not everybody has come through a journey of childhood and, adulthood where they're strong. Women are not always very strong. There are lots of things that pull us back. And we need to kind of work on that skill of being, having that inner strength. I feel like you are kind of that person who is brave and strong, is like, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to change. I'm going to do what's uncomfortable. But not everybody is like that. So are there any tools that you used that helped you become stronger, braver, or can help others? Maybe there are some books that you can recommend or some podcasts that you had listened to, or just simple practices that you started doing that gave you that courage. Any one or two things that you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I'm such an avid book reader, so I've about a million I could rattle off. But I would just say start with habits, and teaching yourself to be braver is like growing a muscle. Like if you want to get really strong biceps or legs or whatever, and you start going to the gym, it's going to take time and you have to keep doing it over and over and over. It's not something that is going to show up in a week. So give yourself a lot of grace and time and patience, I would say. And then just keep practicing and building really good habits and working on your mindset. And all of that is going to make you stronger over time. And like I mentioned a little bit ago, just doing little scary things is going to build confidence in you. Like, oh, I did that. That party wasn't so bad. Now I can go to a conference. So you're going to kind of build those muscles up, but you do have to commit to doing it and be consistent. Oh, that is probably key right there. Consistency is key with this. So don't just do it for a week and then forget about it. You've got to do it again and again and again. So one of the books I would recommend, if this is something that sounds really intriguing, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's such an essential book, I think, for every human, because it just talks about building those little habits and keeping good habits in your life over time and how that can really build up and turn into huge blessings and good things and opportunities. So I would start with that and anything that you can think of that is going to help you to build confidence. So if it's like hosting a cooking class or a webinar, even though it's scary, it is going to be like one little inch closer to you being more confident and more brave. And just keep doing those things. If somebody asks you to be on a podcast and that sounds really scary, just do it. You know your topic really well. You're going to show up and deliver awesome value. So those things will start coming your way once you make the decision that you're going to be braver, you're going to increase your confidence, and that you are going to say yes to all of those opportunities and just keep doing that over and over and over time.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing those. And on the topic of, taking small, simple action, I feel like a big piece of the puzzle in finding success and finding success in a joyful way is being aware of our time management. We have only so much time in the day. We have so many family responsibilities or other responsibilities that sometimes we feel like we are working the whole day and nothing gets done. We're putting in so much time and yet no results are coming through. So I feel like time management is such a big piece of the puzzle. So are there small changes that you think we can make in our time management that makes us more productive?
First of all, I would say just mindset. So instead of saying, I don't have time for XYZ, start saying, I have time for everything I want time for. Because that's true. You have all the time in the world to do the things you want to do. You're just not prioritizing it, which is kind of hard to hear, right? But when you start rephrasing that and saying it in a little bit different way, like I have the time is there, then you'll start seeing the things that you are spending time on a lot differently. So start with that, start making that change in your mindset and your words and your thoughts. And then I would also say boundaries is a huge one for time. For a while in my business, I was like going to lunches a lot and coffee dates. I would say yes a lot to people who were kind of infringing on my work time. And I came to a point where I just decided I need to protect the time that I'm at home and able to work and my kids are at school. And I got really fierce with my boundaries, like to the point where people were like, what is wrong with you? But I had to do that. And by doing that, I was able to find this just rush of productivity in my business. And not just that, but in my life, because then it was really clear like my work stops here and then it's family time or whatever time. And so I was able to show up more presently with my family. So really, really protect the time that you have to work, protect the time that you have with your family or your loved ones or by yourself, even like your self-care time. And then I have one other little recommendation, and that is trying time blocking. So just putting on your calendar, like I am working from 9 to 2 today, and these are the tasks I'm going to work on, and just holding yourself accountable. And if you can't do it yourself, find somebody else to hold you accountable. Time blocking is so powerful if you actually do it. So yeah, I would say those are my main suggestions for that.
Yeah, and I think it just circles back to the whole point of being aware. Know how much time you have, know what you need to get done, understand that that much time is enough for you to, get the results you want, and also make as much use as you can of what is available. I think time is a big one. Like it can cause burnout, it can cause so much frustration, dissatisfaction. It can be such a negative thing in our creative lives that having a grip on it is definitely a piece of the puzzle that we need to have in place to be able to attract that success towards us.
Yeah, that's so true. And once you do kind of figure it out that you actually do have the time that you want, so much goodness comes to you because it's like this whole new world of freedom. Like I had this time all along and I didn't even know it, but it does take some tweaking and some boundary setting with yourself and with other people and maybe a bit of discomfort while you're figuring it out. But once you do, it's so amazing.
And I think boundary setting is so important because most of us work at home. We definitely have, food to put on the table in the evening, and there's laundry, and then there's a phone call, and then your mom has an emergency, and then the dog needs to go out for a walk. It's like life just keeps coming in the way. Versus if you're
Yeah.
sitting in an office, no one disturbs you. They're all like, oh, she's at work, she can't talk right now. So, kind of setting that similar thing, like we also need that communication with our family members and for them to understand that we are at work and we are in office, that kind of a thing. I think that's very important, and telling ourselves as well. For me personal, I've had a really massive burnout journey that took away 8 months of my life, just because of poor time management. And that is the one thing that when I put into place, I have seen massive results. So I feel so passionate, and I completely advocate having systems, applications, automations, and anything, and your mind in place to be able to work effectively.
I completely agree. It's one of the most important things to nail in your business.
Mm-hmm. And let's say that somebody can nail it in their business. Let's say somebody can have that time management piece of the puzzle really well. They know how days set out, they know what tasks to do, and all of that. In addition to that, how do you think, or maybe you can just share some productivity tips for them to be able to maximize that effort that they can put into that already great time management piece that they have figured out?
This is one of my favorite topics ever. I could probably do like a 5-part series on this, but I'll do like my favorite tips. So I've always been really intrigued by productivity. Like my first job out of college, I noticed that I was getting a lot more done than the people around me. And I just found it so intriguing. Like I would do a lot more than them. And I was like, why is that? We're both, qualified, skilled people. And why am I getting more done? And I found all these little things that I was doing that kind of put together made me a super productive person. So I think, first of all, something I've learned recently that I didn't know back then was prioritizing yourself is going to make you more productive. So creating those boundaries, maybe having a morning routine, working out, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, eating well, getting enough sleep is huge for me. When I can do all of those things, I'm going to be so much more productive when I sit down to work. So I think that is something that can be really easily dismissed, but is probably the most important piece. So taking care of yourself and prioritize that, put it in your calendar first every single week, and you will be a more productive person. Some other things are just like you mentioned earlier, the dog and the mother calls or whatever, like just working. When you sit down to work, you're just working. I started shutting my office door because my cat would come in and crawl on my desk, and then I'd be like, oh, he needs whatever. Limit distractions as much as you can. Shut your doors. Communicate with your family, like you said, about expectations and boundaries. Don't do laundry. Don't do dishes during your work time. That is for another time. That's for eating or morning or whatever. But when you're sitting down to work, that is not an option. Let's see. Also, like creating just a really cozy, nurturing environment, I think. So don't have a huge mess around you when you're working. Have plants or things that make you feel inspired, artwork. I have started doing this thing where I put really inspiring things on my desktop pattern every year. So I'll do like kind of goals and things that make me happy, memories. I have me and my son sitting in the mountains and some just pictures that make me happy and pictures of my family and artwork and flowers and things like that. So that when you glance at them, you're going to just want to keep going. Taking breaks, I think, figure out what your kind of duration is. I know some people have a really hard time sitting and focusing for more than like 30 minutes or 60 minutes. If that is you, that's fine. Set a timer and go for a walk around the block and then come back and work. So kind of figuring out your attention span, I think is really important for productivity. And then last, I would say just outsourcing, getting help that you need so that you can be productive when you're sitting down and you're not thinking about housekeeping or whatever else in your home or what's going on in your yard. Yeah, putting systems in place, you mentioned that earlier, and accountability as well. So doing all of the things that we've talked about, and then asking your loved ones to keep you on track when you are slipping, because we are our own boss and we can slip. So I tell this story all the time, but there was a long period of time where I was just working too much and I knew I didn't want to be. I wanted my deadline to be 5 o'clock every night. So I told my boys, who were pretty young at the time, I was like, if you see the clock and it's 5 o'clock or later, come into my office and force me to leave my work. And they did it. My youngest son, Sammy, he's so cute. He would come, like, get under my desk and he would kind of like move my feet up and down and he'd be like, trit trot, it's time to go, Mom. And it was so cute that it just kind of disarmed me and just made me like, okay, I need to set this down. So do whatever you need to get the support of people around you, because most likely they will love to support you. And I could go on, but those are kind of my main tips for productivity and just how to really get in the groove of being a productive human.
I love those. And, especially like, I mean, everything that you said, especially when you said, oh, take out time for self-care, like have a morning routine, or you said, go take a break, go for a walk around the block. I feel like a lot of times we think, that's counterintuitive. I'm wasting time. I could be working in that time. But it's so true that that break, that morning routine actually pumps up productivity, makes us more alert and efficient. I have recently discovered the joy of an afternoon power nap. And I'm a power napper and I've been exhausted because my husband travels a lot. I have a toddler at home. I have 2 dogs and a business to run. So I get pretty exhausted. And I've been so tired that I remember I was like, I just need a nap. And I took a 15-minute nap one afternoon. I was like, wow, I was working double, working faster, more alert, very fresh. And I got the same amount of work done in 2 hours that I would have taken 6 hours to do before. So you are so right that when we begin to carve out that time for self-care, for breaks, it is actually, we think it's counterintuitive, but it's not counterproductive at all. It's actually increasing our efficiency. So I absolutely love your tips, Megan. Are there any such breakthroughs that you discovered along the way about, that increased your productivity?
I think the self-care is the biggest one. And then I'm glad that you mentioned naps, because that's something a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, are embarrassed to say. Like, if they do occasionally take naps or need a nap, that is not embarrassing at all. If you take power naps or even an hour-long nap, whatever, embrace that and talk about it, because that's clearly what your body needs. Yeah, I think for me, my biggest realization was just what you said exactly. Like, it is so counterintuitive to think that taking a break is going to make me more productive, but I started stepping away from my desk for lunch and just sitting outside if it was nice out, or taking a walk around the block or more. And I would come back just like after your power nap and feel way more refreshed and energized. And yeah, I can get so much done in a shorter amount of time when I do that. So I think you and I had very similar realizations that just a little bit of time re-energizing can go a long way. And also if you don't like napping, I was going to say the great alternative to that would be just like a 10-minute meditation. Sit with nothing around you, just quiet. Maybe you can open a YouTube video for a guided meditation or meditation music. There are so many things you can search on YouTube in that realm, and just sit for 10 minutes and you'd be surprised how energized you are after that. So if napping isn't your thing, that might be another good option.
There's so many ways, but breaks are so important. I love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic, Megan. This was such a brilliant conversation. And I love how we touched upon everything that holistically comes together to create that, that little world of success that we are looking at. It's not just hard work. It's not just talent. It's not just money, but the power of our mind, or, being able to adapt to change, to do the scary things, to get out of our comfort zones, or, to manage our time, or to take a nap, or to, get more productive. Everything that is just part of the whole process, and, that we need to do day in and day out to be able to attract that little ball of success that's slowly rolling towards us. I love it. And you've left us with so many actionable tips. So that is something that our audience, our listeners can put into practice immediately. I love it. Can you, before you go, share with us your social media, your website, where they can come and find you, your podcast, and anything else that you would like to share with our listeners?
Sure. So if you are interested in learning more about blogging and all of the pieces of the puzzle, including self-care and everything we've talked about today, you can search your favorite podcast player for Eat Blog Talk, and you'll find 500 plus amazing episodes there. I talked to so many great guests. Also connect with me on Instagram at Eat Blog Talk. And we've also started including mindset episodes this year, which have been really fun for me to do. And they're along the lines of everything we're talking about here today. So yeah, go check it out. And I'd love to have you as a listener.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Megan, for being here, for sharing your wisdom and your wealth of knowledge with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
So that was Megan. And wasn't this the most different conversation that we have had on this podcast so far? I told you, right? So, you know how we are always thinking like, oh, I'm learning everything about photography. I am working 8 hours a day. I am working on the weekends. I have a full-time job, but I'm still putting in so many hours in my photography. And yet I'm not getting the results that I want. Now you know what are the different parts of the puzzle that actually need to come together to bring you this holistic success. Because success is not fragmented. Success doesn't come as one little teeny bit as money. Success comes as a whole, and it is, your overall well-being, your overall happiness, and your overall financial well-being. All of that comes together to create this world of success for you. So there are definitely steps that you can take to attract success. Remember, you can attract success, and you can do that without working more. In fact, you can do that by working less. I hope you had some solid takeaways from this episode. If you have any questions, send me an email at hello@myfoodlens.com or DM me on Instagram at Dyutama_myfoodlens. I'll see you next week with yet another powerful episode. Until then, bye-bye.